Your e-commerce brand is scared to send 3 emails a week because you're worried about annoying your customers, but then you wonder why email only drives 15 or 20% of your revenue. But today, I wanted to show you a brand called Breeze that is absolutely crushing it by sending daily email campaigns. They sell non-alcoholic beverages and are probably adding close to $20 million a year to their top line from their email marketing by going against every single rule that you thought existed. And in October, they sent 30 emails across the 30 days. And if you're an e-commerce brand serious about copying this playbook or migrating it into your own business, I'm going to break it down step by step and email by email. And the reason I'm so confident in showing you this playbook is because we've employed the exact same thing for a couple of the brands that we manage. We have a supplement brand that sent daily emails throughout October and did 47% of their revenue from their email marketing. And at the opposite end of the spectrum, we have a high-ticket fitness equipment brand who we almost sent a daily email for in October, and they do 37% of their revenue from email marketing. After watching this video, you're going to walk away with 9 powerful lessons showing you exactly what they did, why they did it, and how you can adopt it for your brand. So let's get stuck right into it. We're going to start with lesson 1 and we'll go from there. Now I've got all of the emails from October that Bree sent up on my screen here. And for the first lesson, we're going to be talking about the power of theme anchoring. Using a really strong theme across all of your campaigns for the month is a fantastic way to be able to send a high volume of emails without burning your list. And for Breeze in October, this was of course Sober October. Like I said at the start, they're an alcohol alternative beverage, and competing in Sober October or using the narrative of Sober October to their advantage is a fantastic idea. And while your brand is scared to send 3 emails a week, they can send 30 emails across the whole entire month because they have this strong cohesive narrative. So let's start by showing you the emails they sent in Sober October. So starting here, they kicked it right off at the start of the month with this email on the left. Sober October Reimagined. They introduced the new month right on the 1st of October. A new month, a new ritual. Whether you're here for a full reset or just looking to swap a few nights, we make it simple. The thing they do here is they introduce Sober October, but they don't position it in a massive contrarian way. They do a really good job at saying Sober October is here, letting people know about it, but telling them it's okay whether they want to commit for the full month or they just want to swap for a few nights and try make small improvements. They're essentially giving people permission to change their routine rather than demanding they make a big change or trying to go down the rabbit hole of, alcohol is the enemy. Right from the get-go, they're positioning themselves as supportive and not salesy. Now, they have plenty of Sober October emails throughout here, which I'll get to, but I wanted to really just highlight these first 2 emails. So they have the designed one, and then right after, they follow up with a plain text email. We kicked off things yesterday with our Sober October lineup, but I wanted to drop a quick note today. Here's the truth. Making change can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Now, you can read the rest of this email, but essentially they keep going with that theme of soft, gentle nudging and supporting people through wanting to participate in Sober October, as opposed to really shoving it down their throats as like a hard call to action of you need Sober October or, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot or like your body's a temple angle. They're not really playing into that really aggressive narrative. It's soft, it's gentle. They're making people feel warm and welcome and introducing them to the idea of using Breeze as an alternative this October. You can see that here with the copy. It's very deliberate. The key is keeping it simple and staying consistent. One swap, one new ritual, one choice at a time. It's the absolute peak of relationship building and not transactional marketing. He even says it here when he says, where is it? Think of me as your accountability buddy. There it is. It's such a good way to make it seem like you're trying to form relationships. And they probably are. They are probably trying to form relationships and build a community with their customers. But this is the best way to make sure that you come across as really authentic, which is so important at times like this, where you are positioning yourself against such a big giant, which is alcohol, which is a massive part of a lot of people's lives these days. Although it's becoming less and less popular, it's still a massive transition. If you go to someone and say, hey, you know what you should do? You should quit alcohol for a whole entire month. That's what you need to do to make a change. Instead, they're going, look, just 1 or 2 nights. That's all you need to do. That's all we need to start making a really good change. And that's the ultimate way to introduce this month and introduce the theme of Sober October. So they've pretty much gone 2 emails in 2 days here. It's the best way to kick things off. So that sort of wraps us up for the first lesson. It was pretty short and sweet, but the power of theme anchoring. You can easily apply this to your brand. There's a theme you can apply for nearly everything throughout every month of the year, no matter what brand you are. If you think creatively enough, you can 1,000,000,000% come up with something where you can theme your month. So that's the macro strategy. Let's dive in a little bit further because this is obviously just 2 emails out of the 30. So you might be thinking, look, okay, cool, 2 emails, but how do you make 30 emails about Sober October? Let's keep going. Let's run through the next lesson here. So lesson 2 is going to be leading with emotion. And, I've shown you a bit of how they use emotion in these first 2 emails, but how you can really lead with emotion across the rest of the month to position yourself as that authoritative figure, but authentic figure. And you can do that by leading with emotion and not necessarily touching on product features. So let's move through. How I'm going to show you this in this lesson is look at these 3 plain text emails. These are essentially 3 sober October check-ins that they've sent over the course of a month. Now, these, just to be clear, these first few lessons I'm showing you, these emails aren't necessarily in chronological order, but it's showcasing you the different types of emails they sent throughout the month. So these were the first 2 emails of the month. Then they come in again on the 7th of October with this check-in, the 11th with this check-in, and I don't have the date here. I'm pretty sure it was the 15th for this check-in. So every sort of 4 days here, they're sending another sober October check-in, and they have other emails going in between. But firstly, look at the subject lines here. When I talk about leading with emotion, it's becoming really authentic or translating to your messaging with really authentic copywriting. So subject line here, Frankie's napping, I'm checking in. Like super personal. It feels like, they're sending an email to a friend. Secondly, it's Friday, who's with me? It's a bit of hype, it's a bit of, excitement, like Friday's here, who's with me? Fridays are typically very celebratory day if you're someone who drinks or you socialize using alcohol. So it's a great way to sort of cut through on a Friday, especially from someone who's an alcohol alternative. And then progress over perfection, really reinforcing people that, they're midway through October here, they might not have had a fully sober month, but if they've made some progress, that is what matters. So the subject line sort of embody what I'm going to show you here, but let's go through email by email. Now, this email positions itself exactly like a check-in to a friend would. We're almost 1 week into sober October. How are you feeling? For me, this month is all about pausing, resetting, and proving to myself that good vibes don't need alcohol to exist. Then he actually tells a personal story before he even mentions products whatsoever. On the topic of slowing down, my wife and I just adopted a 2-year-old Frenchie named Frankie. The dude sleeps 16 hours a day. Must be nice, but it's a great reminder that rest is part of rhythm. So he's tying back the theme of resting and making progress and taking time for yourself to something in his personal life and sharing a completely random story. If you were reading this email and you were a loyal customer or you're a customer on the fence, you would feel like you're part of this guy's life, like you're part of his family. He goes on to say, that's the beauty of sober October. It isn't about what you're giving up, it's about what you gain. Then he talks about the benefits. It's kind of like following a copywriting framework here of like attention. He grabs your attention by talking about sober October. He keeps you hooked with the interest. It's not really typical direct response, but he keeps you hooked with the interest here where he talks to you about, something that's happening in his life and ties it back to a bit of a story. And then he brings in the desire, more clarity, better mornings, and those small moments that feel even sweeter when you're tuned in. And then, of course, he calls to action at the end, the beautiful copywriting framework of AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. It's a great example of how you can be authentic, but you can actually see what they're doing with the copywriting here to keep people engaged. So, first 3 paragraphs, there's 0 product mentions whatsoever. He's pretty much just talking about his life, the insights about rest and rhythm, relatable, it's human, and it's pretty vulnerable. Like it's a great way to connect with your audience. I think this is absolute amazing email. Great structure, really authentic check-in. It's simple, but it just hits home so well. They follow this up in the second email here. It's Friday, who's with me? And he sort of is leaning in to the point of Fridays being a really social night, like I said. Headed into the weekend, I know how easy it is to fall back into old habits. It's a drink with friends, it's a why not, but you don't need to sacrifice connection to feel good. Then he talks about Breeze being the solution to their problem. It gives you the same social buzz, the same sense of ease without the fog the next day. What you'll notice that Breeze does really, really well across these emails is they educate without being super scientific. When you think of an education email, most people think like, oh, I've got to break down all the in-depth ingredients. I've got to talk about scientific benefits of what our product does. But Breeze kind of educates with kind of just like, trust me, science is the best way to put it. So, they talk about, it gives you the same social buzz, the same sense of ease without the fog the next day. So they're educating people on the product and how it can help without sort of over-explaining it or feeling like they need a deep dive into ingredients. So, you get to stay clear, stay present, and still enjoy the moments that matter. So if you're making the choice to keep your momentum this weekend, you're not alone. Thousands of us here are proving that social doesn't require the sacrifice. I'll raise a can to that. Grab more if you need a restock. Again, super authentic email, making people feel positive about sticking to their habits. It's very timely. Coming in, I obviously got this in the Australian time zones. Their customers are primarily US, so it looks like that was sent on a Friday afternoon. Probably a very timely check-in for people who might have been sticking really well through Sober October. Because if you think about it, this is the second weekend in October. Someone who's committed to Sober October, you've probably made it through the first week. If you didn't even make it through the first weekend, they probably weren't very committed. And then coming into the second week is when it starts to get hard, and you think that, oh, look, why not? It's just one drink. This is a really timely check-in. So they've nailed the personal and the authentic aspect. And then it's a really good copywriting technique where they essentially position the product as the solution and then have the proof. Now, this is a really good problem solution action copywriting framework here. So they call out the problem, which is people are thinking about failing or you know, they're going to ruin their momentum. They're going to drink on a Friday. That's the problem people are facing. It's essentially, you know, habit, temptation. Then the solution is Breeze. It gives you all these same benefits, blah, blah. They tie in the social proof. There's thousands of us here that are proving that social doesn't require the sacrifice. And then they call people to action. PSA, it's an absolute great copywriting framework. You can see here across these two emails, even though they're 3 or 4 paragraphs long, amazing copywriting frameworks and are tying things into the authentic messaging while keeping people hooked. And again, they do it in this final email here, coming in on a Monday. Mondays can be tough, but they're the best chance to reset. One small choice today sets the tone for the week ahead. And what you'll find on a Monday, there's probably people who fucked up on the weekend, who wanted to do Sober October, but they didn't. They made a mistake. They had a few drinks. This message on a Monday is all about Sober October isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. And from where I'm sitting, you're doing great. That's a pat on the back that people need. If your emails make people feel good, they're going to be so much more likely to open it. It's human psychology. If someone interacts with something that makes them feel great, they're going to do it again. It's dopamine, it's serotonin. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but you get me. It's that positive psychological trigger that happens when someone reads your email or interacts with your marketing. It's like when you talk to a friend and they make you feel amazing. It's an addicting feeling. You want to go spend more time with that friend. It's the exact same with these emails. If you're cheering people on and really helping them overcome something great or support them through a tough time, they're going to be so much more likely to interact with all your emails. So this is an absolute masterclass in taking on or, you know, using behavior patterns to your advantage. So it's super amazing. These 3 emails, like, they might seem super simple. I might feel like I'm nerding, or I do feel like I'm nerding out a little bit here, but it's a masterclass on authentic marketing and what it means to get out in front of your customers, you know, be vulnerable, show your authenticity, but also use amazing copywriting frameworks to keep people hooked and still call people to action. So that's lesson 2. Lead with emotion, not products or not product features. We've seen how they anchor the theme to the emotion, but you might be thinking, look, these are good, but how do they actually convert off the back of these? Like, you know, are these the emails that are making thousands of dollars in sales? Is this what is really dropping the hammer and getting people through? Because you might have tried emails like this before, and yes, they get sales, but they're not making like millions in the grand scheme of things. So let me show you some emails that they then sent after this throughout Amazon Prime Day without necessarily deviating too far away from the Sober October theme. An absolute masterclass. So lesson 3 is going to be the Amazon Prime Day sequence here. So let's jump in and take a look at these 5 emails. So over the Amazon Prime Day period, they sent these 5 emails. I think this is one of the most perfect ways to run a quick sale. Breeze have put on an absolute masterclass here. They used a mix of education-based emails with personalized text-only emails at the tail end of the sale to bring home with the urgency. It doesn't feel too aggressive. It's not massive, you know, urgency messaging. It's still authentic. It's still leading into the Breeze messaging whilst also communicating the fact that they're on sale and probably getting a lot of conversions. So let's start off email by email. Visually designing is the best way to come in for a sale like this. You want to announce your sales with a design. So they start off with a simple teaser email like, yeah, you just want to let people know the sale is coming October 7th to 8th. They don't necessarily give away what the discount is. Just great, simple teaser. Then they launch the sale with this. Find your flow this Prime Day, save 20%. You know, shop now. And then it's got the education, like what's actually in the product, really like, you know, driving people home with the features and benefits here, supports cognition, naturally uplifting. This is like a typical conversion email where you run people through like, this is our product, this is what it does, this is when you have it, good call to actions, has the 20% sale. They back it up with this 3rd email, pretty much, you know, showing people how to use it, kind of exaggerating this section a little bit more. Or they lean into the afternoon pick me off specifically here. But, you know, nothing special about these, just 2 super typical sale emails leading people to the Amazon Prime Day. But this is where they tie it back to Sober October. So these last 2 emails are probably the most important ones, these plain text ones. So they send 2 emails on the final day of their Prime sale. And this one is the check-in from Corbin, the plain text authentic email. hey, we're a week into sober October, and if no one's told you, yeah, you're doing great, it's not always easy to stick with a reset, but the fact you're showing up and making intentional choices is something to be proud of. What you'll notice is whenever Corbin emails, or whenever the email is positioned to be from Corbin, it has some sort of positive, uplifting message, and they stick to that throughout. Now, I've seen videos of this guy on Twitter and whatnot, and it genuinely seems like it's his personality. He makes a really intentional effort to keep that personality showcased throughout every plain text email he sends. He wants to be authentic. He wants to come off as himself. He doesn't want to come in during Amazon Prime Day, final day, and go, hey, it's Corbin here. This is your last chance. Like, buy now, shop now. He's still being encouraging, uplifting, tying it back to the goal of sober October. And then he just gives a quiet recommendation on his best. Like, flow's been my go-to this month, keeping a clear head and an even mood. So, he showcases his favorite product. Most brands, like I said, they're coming in with the last chance. This is 50% off. Like, you're never going to see a sale from us this big. Corbin, super soft messaging, explains the product a little bit, save 20% while you can. It's kind of chill. It's like, very nonchalant in a way. And he does a really good job at it. Then they have you've got a few hours left, use them wisely. He does get a little bit aggressive on this one. But look, it's a couple hours left in the sale. It's hard not to. I think this is probably the only time he's ever deviated away from like having that necessary positive reinforcement showcased in an email per se. But like, it's still kind of his authentic messaging coming through, like, hey, I'll keep this short, you've got a few hours left. Like, if you read it in the tone that you will have gotten to know him with by reading all these emails, like, you're probably not going to feel like he's coming on too hard. So I think this is one of the best ways you can run a sale without coming off like you're giving away your life or selling your soul or having to be too aggressive, and also without deviating from a theme that you're using to tie your month back to. This probably absolutely ripped for them. They set up the theme of a lot of the month with like, Breeze is your answer to sober October and having your alcohol alternative. They have all this authentic messaging, and then they come through with the launch of the sale. People are thinking of Breeze. Like, a lot of their loyal customers are probably drinking more Breeze than ever because of the sober October push. And then they would have a lot of fence-sitting customers or customers who are trying it for the first time who are going to stock up because they're using it through sober October. So it's the best way. Like, they probably knew Amazon Prime Day was on during this sale, and they purposely wanted to theme sober October around the sale and wrap it in. So I think this is a masterclass in how you can do that. So that's lesson 3 done. And before we get on to the next lesson, I want to quickly mention that I'll be running a free strategy call where my team can do an entire live audit of your Klaviyo account, go through your campaign, go through your segmenting strategy, go through the way you've set up your flows, and give you a full review of your retention and your lifecycle marketing. And we'll show you exactly what you need to fix. If you feel like you'd benefit from that, which all of you will, in my humble opinion, check out the link in the description and we can get that sorted. So now let's go over lesson 4. This is going to be the simple relationship building emails that Breeze sent over sober October. Now, I've showed you a few of these emails individually now over lessons 1 and 2, but let me show you how they all sort of tie together throughout the month. Now, I told you that they anchor the theme to sober October, but don't get me wrong, not all 30 emails were about sober October. They have plenty of other emails in the mix here that have nothing to do with sober October. And that's how they can send 30 emails. But it's how do you wrap the idea of the month in this sober October, and how do you do it without losing people's attention and without kind of losing the ability to sell? So let's get into the rhythm of the progress update. So I wanted to take you through the timelines of sober October. Let's break this up. So they have all of these emails, and like I've already told you, they send these pretty much every 3 to 5 days. That seems to be the cadence they use for relying on this theme. So if you're someone who is going to tie your email marketing back to a theme for a particular month, going every sort of 3 to 5 days with an actual hard email about that theme, for example, sober October here, seems to be the best way to do it, or seems to be at least how Breeze did it here. Sober October, the launch, I've already showed you that one, super solid. Then they have the we kicked things off yesterday. Then they have the, hey, Mondays can be tough. They also had that Friday check-in here that I showed you before, but I wanted to show you these 3 I haven't showed you yet, the ones at the end. So, hey, we're in the final stretch of sober October. It's almost complete. I hope you're feeling proud of how far you've come. Every small choice you've made this month is added up, and together they tell a bigger story of intention and progress. This week is about finishing strong, keep leaning on the rituals that have carried you here, and then they tie in the product. So it's kind of like habit building. There's an old marketing or product saying, or it might just be business in general, and it's the more people use your product in a day, the more likely they are to buy it or to continue buying it. If you think like, I think that was like from a software developer back in the day, he was saying like, you need to develop a software that people are going to use daily, because then it becomes part of their lives and they're going to be a paying customer for life. You think of like your iPhone, for example. So all the things like that, and brands, and it sort of holds strong into your product marketing as well, or for e-commerce brands. If you can get people using your product as part of like a daily routine or ritual, it's the best way to keep them repurchasing. So they remind people here, they tie it back to a ritual. Then they have a designed email here about celebrating the small wins. All they're talking about is the small wins and then tying people back to the ritual. This is sort of just like the exact same email, but one's plain text, one's design. They're going to appeal to different customers, so it's a great way to do it. Then they come in here with the let's keep this going email, the final email of the month. It's not a, hey, thanks for participating. I'm going to sort of allude to this again in later in the video, but the way they do this is also a masterclass. If you can see, there's no massive call to action in this email, but the way they frame it's really important. When they wrap up the month, it's not a, hey, thanks for participating in Sober October, you did great, like now let's all get back to their normal lives. It's more positioned as, this doesn't stop here. This can be like an ongoing behavior. You showed up for yourself. These are the habits you build. You feel clearer, you feel more rested, you feel more connected. Reminding people of how they feel when they make a positive change, especially one which is maybe counterintuitive to their normal behavior, is really important. Like, when someone's doing really hard things like dieting or exercising or trying to build a hard routine, you need to remind them of how they're feeling, because it can be hard for that person to reflect on that in the moment, especially when they're having temptations or whatever it is. So, I'm stoked to have been on this journey with you. Your kind words mean the world. Here's to the future. It's just a really soft way to, I guess, encourage people to keep going. It's the best way to do it. It's the best way to keep people wanting to come back and opening your emails, and sort of see Breeze as a solution, not just to Sober October when they're trying to quit alcohol, but more the solution to building habits that can contribute to a better life and feeling better. So that's the best lesson here for you, is just like the way they use this theme throughout. Like, not every 30 emails, not all 30 emails are about the theme. They had about 7 in total here spread across the month, every sort of 3 to 4 days. And I think that's the best way to do it. And then reminding people to build habits, build routine, build ritual. You're not trying to get them to reinvent the wheel with their life, but get them to make small and steady, I guess, changes that are going to add up over time, and then reminding them of how they feel. Now, everything they work to build, however, won't matter if the brand voice was to keep changing between emails. Now, I alluded to before that when people see Corbin, they get used to this really authentic messaging, and they get used to his voice, and over time they probably get to know him. So here's how they keep it consistent, which can also help with conversions, which is going to be lesson 5, how to find your founder voice and use that to build authentic connection. Now, I've already shown you a few of these emails in isolation, like the one where he talks about his new dog and all that, but I wanted to show you the flow of the plain text emails when they're all placed together and really show you the consistencies. I think this is one of the most important lessons when it comes to plain text emails. One of the biggest mistakes I see with plain text emails is brands make them way too transactional. They're way too salesy. Like, they'll only use plain text emails when they're trying to either like be direct response style email, or create a direct response style email, or, announce a sale or push some urgency. They never really use it for conversation, and they don't really have a consistent founder voice. So I wanted to show you the consistency here. Like I've said a couple of times, having Corbin as the main character or the main avatar across these emails is really key, because it means people get to know Corbin and they get to know his voice and they get to know what to expect. So when you're building loyalty with your customers, or you're building an email list that people want to look forward to opening, having someone that they can almost connect to, like that friend or that family member who emails you, it's really important. So the first thing your brand should be doing is copying that. Like, have an avatar that people send from. Don't always jump and chop and change between them unless you have a few key people in your business that are recognizable. But try pick one avatar that is the avatar of your business. So it's not from the Breeze team. It's not from the customer success team. It's not from any of that. It's from Corbin. Corbin from Breeze every single time. Now, that is what the first part of this lesson is. Now, where is the Frankie email? Because that's like a super important one here. Here it is. Frankie's napping, I'm checking in. Now, I just wanted to touch back on this example. It is the perfect example of authentic messaging. Pretty much all of these are, but this is what you need in your emails. You need to think of how you can tie back stories from your own life back into your plain text emails. He's talking about, I know, I get it, I've been there. He's talking about the shared struggles, like we, us, together. These are short sentences, there's conversational rhythm, there's no like sort of corporate jargon or AI about it. Like, it literally looks like he's just jumped on and written it from himself, and it talks like there's a friend texting you. I know I've spoken about this email earlier in the video, but you need to study this. Like, you need to create emails like this for your brand, because this is how you get that authentic cut through. And this is how you get people who want to interact with the brand, not just your product. And they don't just buy from you because you have a good product. They buy from you because they're invested in your mission, your brand, your personality, and what you're trying to sell. Now, some people might say like, oh, I don't want to position myself as the brand because like I want to exit one day, or oh, because I don't relate to my avatar. Well, find someone who does. Like, you can create an avatar, but you need to create a personal brand voice that people can allude to, and it needs to be consistent across these plain text emails. Like, the designed ones, they can get away with whatever because they're just from Breeze. They're from the brand. They're about the product. They're about whatever. They still tell a story, but they're from Breeze. These plain text ones, they're from Corbin. They're all from Corbin. And when he sends, it's something personal. It's another thing is like, when it comes to sending 30 emails in a month, a lot of people say like, oh, I couldn't create 30 emails in a month. Like, I'm far too busy. Like, how am I meant to make 30 emails in a month? Look at this. They had, like, this is a snapshot of all 30, and I'll get to these at the end, but you have what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 30 being plain text, like 5 of the 30 being like, sort of template recipe stuff, which are pretty easy to bang out. That's sort of 13 emails out of the 30, which are like not that hard to make in the grand scheme of things. Like, how hard do you think it would be for Corbin to make that? He's just writing it because it's him. Now, I'm sure he does put thought into it because like I showed you, they have very, very good copywriting framework sort of tied throughout a lot of these emails, but it makes it easier to scale your volume and your cadence, and it is very good pattern disruption. It doesn't, like, a customer doesn't feel like they're getting 30 emails when every second email is like a really nice plain text email from Corbin with like a positive, uplifting story. Give contrast to this to say like a brand who every time they send a plain text email is like, hey friend, or hey there, or dear customer, like we're on sale, or dear customer, we just launched this new product, or dear customer, let me tell you why we're the best solution for your problem. And it's that real salesy rubbish. That shit does not work when you have people like Corbin from Breeze sending emails like this. Which email do you think your customer is going to open more regularly? Which emails do you think your customer is going to be more likely to open well into the future? So that's my lesson on the authenticity. Stay consistent with your founder voice. Come up with an avatar. If you don't have one, make it, and then come up with a consistent voice you can use throughout. Be really authentic, tell personal stories. Think of something in your life that you can share with your audience. Like, obviously make it as true as possible, but if you can tie it back to your product or your experience, like, that's all the best. And they don't have to be super long-winded. It can be like, hey, I, got a really random phone call from a customer this morning who told me this really cool story. Or, hey, I had the craziest idea when I was at the grocery shop this morning, blah, blah, blah. Like, it can be really short and sweet. You just need to like practice being a bit more maybe present in your life and think about how you can tie this back to your content, because this will be really good for storytelling in your emails, but everywhere else in your brand, which I won't get to. Let's move on to lesson 6, how you can educate about your products without overwhelming people. Now, this is something that Breeze do really well. And I introduced the idea of this before in one of the plain text emails when I said they educate you by talking without a massive degree of like scientific knowledge. He'll pretty much just say like, here it was. It gives you the same social buzz, the same sense of ease without the fog the next day. Like, they're always subtly educating without feeling like they're shoving education down your throat. Like, you're not in school, you're not in college here. Like, you're just trying to read like a chill email. Like, you don't need them to explain like the whole science of like nootropics or whatever's in here to you. Like, pretty simple. Like, they can just explain in a few words what the product does. And that's the approach that Breeze takes. And I think it's super, super smart. This is the group of emails that I've sort of isolated as their education emails for the month. And you might look at these and be like, oh, are these really that education? Like, where are the 3 reasons why? Where is the like problems they solve? Where's like the hectic ingredients breakdown? But what you'll actually find is they do 90% of their educating in the above the fold section of their designed emails. So this paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph, and so on. Let me run you through email by email quickly what you need to learn from here. So look at this, the buzz but better. The call out straight away positions Breeze as they need to, which is you're going to get the same buzz but better. And then they explain it in a super simple paragraph, and it just looks really nice on this designed email. But while settle for hangovers when you can feel good, like really good. Our infused tonics deliver everything you love about drinking without the trade-offs. Balanced cannabinoids, meet functional mushrooms and adaptogens for a weekend that actually leaves you better off. That is the whole education. Like, yes, it's not traditional education where they're teaching people about the ingredients, but like, that's not their avatar. Like, you think of the level of awareness of customers, and Breeze are taking a position of most aware in most of their emails. They're assuming that people know what their problem is, so they're problem aware. They know what the solution is. It's an alcohol alternative or to quit drinking. And they're even assuming they're product aware, like they know what Breeze is because, you know, they're on the email list, so you can sort of infer that. They're taking the route of most aware here, which is like people know what we do, they know what THC is. We just need to give them a nudge that like our product is the solution, like reinforce their idea of like we are what they're looking for. And it's just such a simple way to educate without over explaining. And I think they also know that their avatar and their target audience like probably doesn't really care about like, you know, how mixing THC and CBD like combines to do this to your energy and your DNA or whatever it is. Like this is the education, this is what you need to know. Super simple. And these are the products. I personally love it. Like I've definitely made a lot of like really in-depth educational emails in my time and a lot of them have worked really well, but sometimes this is the best way to do it. Once you learn what your customers respond to, stick to it. And they've clearly learned that this works, so they stick to it. It's great. Let's look at some of these other ones here as well. Like small but mighty. The middle of the week calls for balance, not burnout. OG Micro gives you a subtle stackable buzz that helps you stay social, creative, and clear without weighing you down. They're telling you which product is the solution for the people who want to have something in the middle of the week. Perfect for a post-work catch-up, an early nightcap, or just a moment to yourself. Great education. And this one actually sort of shows a bit of education. Like these are the ingredients in it, the lightest lift in our lineup, stackable, smart, build your moment. So, you know, they're telling people like if you just want like a light, subtle buzz or something, this is the one you need to get. And I love how they don't overcomplicate this with like trying to explain all the different products. It's just like focusing on one product. Now, don't lose sleep. They're sort of playing into a different problem here and also sort of positioning the education. It's easy to think an alcoholic drink before bed helps you unwind, a quick nightcap to slow things down. But alcohol actually disrupts your natural sleep cycle, keeping your body from entering deep restorative rest. That's why you wake up groggy, not grounded. That is one of the best education paragraphs ever. Like if you're talking to people who are sort of, you know, at least problem aware, they're going to understand this and they're going to be like, oh, I thought I always slept really well with alcohol. This makes so much sense as to why I wake up groggy. Like that is like one of the easiest and simple ways to educate. And then they sort of tie in their products here. Like with Breeze, you can wind down naturally. Our Dream and Drift blends combine, blah, blah, blah. More education, shop now. Super simple emails. They really don't overdo it here. And I just love how they do it. Another one here. Don't be haunted by brain fog. Feeling foggy? You're not cursed. You're just in need of a little lion's mane magic. This functional mushroom supports clarity and brain health so you can stay sharp even when the week's got you dragging. So this is the best one to have when you've got brain fog. Like you see how in their education emails, they're pretty much teaching you which product you need to pick based on your problem. They're kind of getting customers to self-select. Like I said, people who are in that most aware category of product awareness, they don't need like a massive push into the direction of what they need to buy. Like they just probably need to be taught which product is best for their problem. And these individual emails where they call out a particular product as the solution to one problem is the best way to do that. So that's like an insane showing of educating people on the products without being too pushy. This one here, the smallest shift makes the biggest difference. When your week feels heavy, sometimes all it takes is one intentional swap to lift you up. These are designed to help you think clearly, feel brighter, move throughout the day. These are great. All of these are education emails, believe it or not. Your education emails don't need to be super in-depth education breakdowns on every product or every ingredient. They just need to educate people on what they need to know. And people who are in the product awareness stage of like considering buying a THC drink, someone who's on the Breeze email list, they know what THC is. You're not considering buying a THC drink in a can if you're not at least in that world of thinking to begin with, or that type of person, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, your average like 60-year-old like alcoholic isn't just like gone from slamming like 30 beers to waking up and thinking like they're gonna have a breeze the next day. Like they're so far from being at a level of awareness where they understand that this is like a good alternative. And this, they're appealing to what their products need to know. Like you don't need to over explain yourself to customers who already sort of see the benefits of THC drinks, or, you know, maybe they've tried things before. They just need to know which ones to pick, how each product helps, and just quick paragraph summaries of that education is the best way to do this. So that's lesson 6. They're educating, they're building relationships. That's been sort of lessons 1 to 6. It's how they lead with emotion, how they twine the sale of Amazon Prime in, how they keep their founder's voice, and how they educate across all these emails. But let's move to lesson 7. Now, lesson 7 is going to be a bit of a recap on the Amazon Prime Day slightly. I just want to quickly touch on 2 things I didn't say before with these emails, or 2 things I sort of skimmed over to a degree. And it's building urgency that actually works for your brand. So you might think from your own brand's experience, when it comes to the back end of a big sale, you need to go super hard. Like you need to send a ton of SMS, you need to send a ton of emails, you might need to extend the sale. Like you might need to pull all the tricks out of the hat to really squeeze all those last drops of urgency. But the reason that Breeze can pretty much go from saying, hey, the Amazon Prime Day is live, to, oh, hey, it's actually ending, and squeeze a ton more sales out of these 2 emails is because they've built up the goodwill throughout the month that people actually enjoy interacting with these emails, and they don't need to put on a circus act to get people to engage with their sale. Now, you'll notice they actually do this with the end of Sober October as well. You tie that back to these 2 emails. Look at the consistency between the messaging at the end of the Amazon Prime Day sale, like very chill, very uplifting, and the end of the Sober October push where they call people to buy these products and celebrate. Super simple messaging. It's soft urgency. Like here, they're actually able to tie the end of Sober October to an excuse to buy more product. Like this is what you need to celebrate, a quiet toast to yourself, for making it through the month. And this is what you need for social celebration. Like if you're gonna go out, share with friends, dance late, laugh along, all without the next day fog. It's super simple. And look at the contrast here in the products. It's like, this is for what you're doing when you're alone and you just wanna reflect yourself. This is what you should have for when you're with friends. Super simple product solution or like product selection. So they can actually, because of all the goodwill they've built up, they don't need to put in a big song and dance. Like you saw it in the Amazon Prime Day sale. Imagine if they got to the end of Sober October and they did what a lot of brands would do and be like, we're running an end of Sober October 20% off sale because you've earned it, like after this big hard month. Like so many people would do that as a flash sale, and it's the biggest way to kill your messaging or kill your brand, especially if you're like Breeze and you've built up this really authentic, soft narrative and messaging throughout the month and really supporting and uplifting. They don't need to come in with a sale. They've built up goodwill throughout the entire month so that they can just come through and say, hey, celebrate your good month with us, buy some product. And it probably absolutely ripped for them. So that's what you need to do. And when you have a theme like Sober October, you can tie these emails into the end of the theme and sort of have a natural bit of urgency. So that's lesson 7. Let's move on to lesson 8. And this one's probably my favorite. I want to show you all of their emails groups and how they actually categorize their emails. Now, I've always said, when you're building an email marketing calendar, the best thing to do is to have 60-ish% of your emails being more educational or engagement or nurturing based. Have 20 to 30% of your emails real social proof heavy, middle of funnel, building trust, sort of getting people across the line, and then have the sort of final 10 to 20% of your emails being that conversion focused, like directly asking people to buy, like whether it's a sale or a new product or, like that end of Sober October one where you're just like, thanks for finishing Sober October, like now it's time to buy. Like something really conversion focused like that. Now that doesn't mean the 60 to 80% of your emails that aren't conversion focused shouldn't have call to actions and stuff, but it means the like sort of overarching message in them shouldn't be too salesy, and it should be about building engagement or sending some type of distinct message, which is going to move people further down the funnel. And the reason we do that is because 2 to 3% of your email list, only 2 to 3% of your email list is going to be ready to buy at any given point. So we don't want to make every email sort of promotions focused. They all need to have different purposes. Now, Braze do that amazingly. I've split into different categories here. Now, they sort of have, this category is the 60%. This is that engagement and emotion-based email. So rather than education, I rather call it emotion for Braze. Now they have a lot of education in these. They're more like emotion-based. So what we'd typically do is, like I said, you'd have 60% education, 30% say social proof, and 10% conversion. What Breeze has actually sort of done, which is a little bit different, but suits their brand and their avatar really well, is they have sort of 60% this emotion-based, where they're, appealing to a customer's emotions and to their softer side. They have 30% recipe-based, where this is tangible, practical use of the product. Like here's how you can actually use it in your life to make amazing drinks. Because remember, a lot of these people are coming from alcohol. They might love making cocktails. I'm pretty sure like Breeze's ICP is maybe the more affluent person who, is trying to improve their health and, they're buying expensive cans of drink online. So, there might be people with big, beautiful homes who make cocktails, entertain a lot, blah, blah. Showing them how they can do so as a bit of a change up here or like, through recipes is a great way to do that. That is almost like your middle of funnel content. Then obviously your conversion focused bottom of funnel emails. This is the Prime Day sale. Super simple. That is the best way to split things up. 60% of the time they're building into the emotion. So, this is like community or emotion building, Sober October, the buzz but better, habits are built, not found, sip, slip, slow, deep, sip, slow, deep, breathe deep, blah. Real people, real rituals, small but mighty, our rituals shared with you, celebrate the small wins, don't lose sleep. Like, you can sort of feel the messaging across all of that. Like it's very uplifting or it's directly calling out a pain point. I absolutely love it. Then, like I said, the education sort of recipe ones, like they're more like the other category where it's like practical use of Breeze, and then it's the bottom of funnel. They also do, like, they have their whole plain text email authentic pillar here, which is a category in itself. And I think it's a great way just to sort of anchor throughout the month. So you could almost like move these into this like top category, and it's like, these are all the emotion based in the authentic one. These are the bottom of funnel. These are sort of like your practical use email. Now, when they're building a calendar, it's really easy for them just to replicate this. Okay, let's throw 4 or 5 recipe emails in the calendar. Let's mark out our sales. Like when we build them, we like to sort of move backwards. Let's mark out our sales campaigns first. So we know Prime Day is on the 14th, for example. We need an email on the 14th, 15th, 18th for Prime Day and a teaser. So 4 emails there. All right, we know we have 5 recipe emails that work really well. Let's space them out. That's 9 emails in total. Okay, let's build in our last 21 sort of authentic emails around that. So it's really easy to do when you sort of take that approach and you know what your pillars are. Like I said, I recommend sort of like this group of educational emails to be sort of like 60%. These to be sort of like 20%, say. Let's say these are like 60 to 70%. And then these are like 10%. If you split things up like that, you can have a really well-balanced email calendar. And the reason you need to do that, like I said, because only 2 to 3% of your email list is going to be ready to buy at any given point. So all these emails are designed to keep people engaged throughout majority of the month. One thing I'd like to see Breeze do a little bit better is maybe have some more distinct social proof. Like they have 2 social proof emails in the month. I probably would have gone, personally, I'd probably go, these emails are part of education, like the recipe stuff, like that's more your top of funnel content. And then I would have split out these social proof ones and made maybe 4 or 5 of them instead and move them down there. That's the only thing I'd do differently, but they also had Sober October to balance in. So a lot of the emails here were about like Sober October directly, which probably takes up a lot of their cadence. But otherwise, super good month. And you look at the recipes email here, the last thing I want to touch on here, super simple. They all follow like a beautiful template, paragraph, photo, diagram, button. Like that would take them so quickly to whip up, it would be crazy. And like they just know it prints, and it's a great way to talk to your customers. So this is a really good example of a calendar split. That's lesson 8 for you. The 60-20-10 rule, or 70-20-10 rule, whatever you want to call it, but you know what I mean. The split of your campaign calendars should add up to 100% here, obviously, and that's your emails for the month. Now, my final lesson for you, lesson 9, and I want to tell you how this was actually a subliminal play for Black Friday that not many people would have realized. Now, don't get me wrong. Breeze sends a lot of emails most months. This is sort of part of their strategy, and it probably works really well for them. But they know that November is coming up. Black Friday is coming up. And during Black Friday, they're going to send an amazing amount of emails. They're going to send, who knows how many emails Breeze are going to send over Black Friday. I haven't done a review yet. Probably would have sent like at least 40 emails or something over the month of Black Friday by the time they've, had the sale, however long they ran it for, converted, whatever. So building your customers up in an authentic way to get used to the cadence of 30 emails in a month during October, which is the month this is an amazing way to set the tone for Black Friday. Rather than sending sort of like 10, 12 emails a month for 11 months of the year, then getting to November and going, oh, okay, now we're going to send 30 or 40 and hope we don't get many unsubscribes and hope that all of our customers interact. They build up to a point where in October, they're sending 30 emails very deliberately because they have a theme, which is Sober October, and they mix in all the authentic messaging and they sell very subtly all the lessons I've shown you throughout this, but they still found a way to send 30 emails. So by the time that Black Friday rolls around, their customers are primed. They're like, yeah, Breeze sends this many emails all the time. Like, what do you mean? I always get this many emails from Breeze. So it's not a shock to them. Whereas you've got all these other brands who send like 5, 10 emails a month, come in Black Friday and go, oh my God, it's November. I need to send 30 or 40 emails. And their customers go, what the hell? You're bombing me all of a sudden. You never send me this many emails. Click unsubscribe. Breeze has beaten the crowd essentially by finding an excuse to send, like I said, they do this a lot of the months, but they've found a really good narrative and a really good excuse for sending 30 emails throughout October so that they can keep that up and just do the same thing in November and no one will bat an eye. It is probably the most genius part of this strategy, in my opinion. Like they've just set themselves up for the most amazing November. And this is one of the key lessons you can take away here, which is lesson 9, the last one we're talking about. It's think of your calendar in seasons. The start of the year, you can go a bit softer. Like I'm pretty sure I actually got this analogy from one of the founders of Breeze or one of the partners of Breeze, Nick Shackelford. He said like, you got to think of your marketing team in general as like a sporting organization. There's a pre-season, there's a season, there's an off season and a post season, whatever it is, like whatever those 4 seasons are. And it's a great way to think about your marketing calendar. Like this period heading into Black Friday is pre-season. Q4 like is your season. So in the pre-season, you've got to build up a level of volume like comparable to what you're going to do during the season. So you're not getting injured, so you're not breaking shit. And in this case, it's your customers' minds. If you can build your customers' minds to expect to receive a lot of emails from you in October, now November's not going to be a shock to the system and it's going to perform way better. So this is the genius thing that Breeze does. And obviously like just subtle note, but to tie it in, they sort of have this final email of the month saying like, this doesn't end here, here's to the future. They're positioning themselves as sticking around. So that is Breeze. That is the 9 lessons, an absolute phenomenal masterclass from Breeze in email marketing over the month of October. Now, Breeze is a prime example that you can send as many emails you want without burning your email list, provided you have a good strategy and you do it the right way. And they proved you can do this without having to include excessive discounts or scarcity or urgency. They pretty much anchored their entire calendar to the theme of Sober October, led with true authentic messaging, stuck true to the way that they like to speak, connected with their audience, lent into the emotion of the whole event of Sober October, positioned their product as the solution and included many amazing copywriting frameworks, but they tied it all together into one cohesive strategy that just made a ton of sense. And I've had the luxury of working with 180 different e-commerce brands and generating over $100 million for these brands myself through email marketing. So I can tell you that this works and this is a really, really good strategy. We've employed similar things across our brands and seen fantastic results. So if you're an e-com founder and you're looking to bolster your Klaviyo strategy as we head into 2026, book a call with us. We'll do a completely free audit of your Klaviyo account. We'll map out your current campaign strategy, your segmenting strategy, your flow strategy. We'll show you what's broken, what's working, and what you need to do to get your account from A to B, B being the promised land where your account is absolutely pumping. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, completely free. We only need 15 minutes. Click the link in the description and book a call. Otherwise, I hope you've taken some value out of this video. We'll see you in the next one.